All right. Oh, small green bean. There. Hold on. No. Where is it? There it is. We'll roll with this. This is kind of big. I don't know what's going on. I'm having up there. There we go. This part.
Ah.
Oh man, I apologize. We are having nothing but technical. Well, not green bean. I am having nothing but technical difficulties tonight. It's like I have no Dan tonight, and all of a sudden things are just going off the rails. So just thank you guys all for bearing with me. Green bean, thank you for bearing with me, man. You know how it is.
Of course.
Crazy out here. But anyway, how are you doing, my friend? Welcome to the Jets Everything. I almost said I'm all confused tonight. I am all confused. I am all thrown off. Oh man.
Well, look,
to the
dude.
Jets Afterburners podcast.
Yeah, the Afterburners pod. Well, let me say this. Number one, you don't have to stress with me, man. If anybody remembers, there's not a term out there called freeze bean for no reason. Okay. So I went through a few years of, I mean, if I had a full hour without an issue, it was like celebration time. So no stress. It happens to the best of us. We're just gonna hang out. Let's let our hair down and be loose. You know what I mean? Let's fucking roll with these punches, bro. We're good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I come on, my camera stops working, so I got the shitty quality, but it is what it is, man. You know, we're all Jets fans here. You know, we're used to this kind of weird stuff. You know, it wouldn't be the Jets if there was no weirdness. So but I want to be very respectful of your time, so I just kind of want to jump right into it. So I guess we'll just kind of start off like the end of last season and then lead all the way up to now. So I guess the first thing I'm going to ask you is like, how out were you on the team at the ending of last year? Just, I mean, Aaron Rodgers goes out 4 plays in, and then everything just kind of rolled downhill from there. Were you kind of like holding out on hope, like, all right, next year is going to be our year for sure? I was in that boat a little bit, but at the same time, I'm like, what I'm seeing on the field is unacceptable. The coaching staff was really starting to rub me the wrong way. Just like, what were your thoughts like towards like, you know, New England, game's over, season's over now. It's like you have a little bit of a chance to reflect. What were you thinking at the ending of like last season?
Well, I'll tell you what, I did believe throughout the season, like the fact that Aaron Rodgers went down in 4 plays, I maintained hope that whole game that he was going to come back. We had the live stream going for the game as we do. And there were some Green Bay fans in there telling us, like, guys, don't worry about it. He's going to come back. Like he's done this before. Like he gets banged up. He's an Iron Man. He's coming back. And I was like believing that shit the whole time. You know, he's going to come back in the second half. All right, he's going to come back week 2. Or he's, you know, like when we heard it was an Achilles, it was obviously it just like every one of us. It destroyed me. I just couldn't believe that our luck, even though I've been doing this a long time, I couldn't believe it. But the team was still stacked, in my opinion. So I didn't love our last year's offseason outside of Aaron Rodgers, but I thought that our defense was great. I love Brees. I love Garrett Wilson. I didn't know Lazard was going to have that complete meltdown that he had. I liked the idea of Mecole Hardman. So I thought we had enough to get into the playoffs still. The Zach thing, like you said, it was unacceptable. I rooted for the kid. I was it was a hard season. But here's the thing. So at the end of the season, number one, I wanted to lose out. We didn't.
Right.
We would have had the second overall pick. And what we could have done with that, oh my God. But we beat Belichick in his last game. It might even be his last game as an NFL head coach. So that has some value. It's theoretical value. It's not really, tangible, so to speak, but it's valuable. And we get to kind of kick him in the nuts. It's the big brother. He beat us up for 10 years. And then when we were moving out of the house, going to college, we kicked him in his balls. And that's it's got something. It's a little something. But I wasn't as out on the Jets, like the regime, as a lot of people were. So I understand why we were. I felt the same dejection and all that. But up until last season, I didn't have I wasn't snagged on the record of Joe Douglas. I saw the injuries. I saw, I thought Zach Wilson was a huge problem. I sit down and I break down the film after the games. I watched the all 22. I look at it from an objective standpoint. And there were so many games that, even with LaFleur as the offensive coordinator, that I saw the schemes working. I saw the receivers open. I saw a quarterback that couldn't get it done. So I liked Joe Douglas's process. I think that watching the Jets for so many years, there were GMs that we had that their drafts and their off seasons made zero sense to me. I never could really identify what they were trying to accomplish. Mike McCagden being our most recent GM, I never had an idea of what he was actually trying to do. 2 safeties. Then he would go out and he would sign 2 years in a row. His big free agents are middle linebackers. And it's like, I don't understand what we're doing here. He drafted 2 offensive linemen in 5 years, none higher than a third rounder. So it's like, well, there are 5 guys on the offensive line. You take 2 draft picks and 5 draft. It doesn't make sense. Joe Douglas, on the other hand, even though maybe not every player I would have liked, I thought the positions made sense. A lot of the times the players made sense. And if you look at our roster, the fact that Aaron Rodgers came here shows, this is a different team. It's significantly better than it's been. So even though I was upset, I'm kind of still wishy-washy on Robert Saleh as a head coach. Joe Douglas, I was still in on more than a lot of others. So I just said, okay, this offseason, it's got to be like balls to the wall. And I don't know if he did everything I wanted, but he did a lot of what I wanted. The Tyron Smith, Mike Williams wasn't the receiver I wanted, but I liked it. Simpson trading for Morgan Moses, losing Bryce Huff, and then getting Hassan Reddick. Okay, that's a push, if not an upgrade. You know what I mean? Youth is on the side of Huff, of course. But I think a lot of what we did, and then the draft was exciting. So I just wanted to see this kind of an offseason to bolster the team that we already have. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Conklin, Ruckert, Tippmann, AVT, if he could stay healthy. We have a lot of pieces. I wanted to see support and I wanted to see upgrades. And I think we saw all that. So coming out of last season, I was beaten up, dude, just like you were. I felt like I had done, a couple rounds in a very difficult boxing match. I was done. But I did have hope. There were people wanting firings, and I didn't necessarily see that. I said, dude, we're here. We have the regime. Everybody was excited September 11th. The injuries happened, and, we got to run it back. You got to run it back. You can't blow it up. You got to run it back. So I think I might have been in a little bit better of a position than some other Jets fans. but it was real hard not to be disappointed and like I said, beaten up a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you 100%. And I like what you said about Joe Douglas too. It's like you do see a blueprint compared to like McCagnon, where it was just, whatever was on the market. Hey, let's just bring him in for the hell of it. I do like that because you do see Joe Douglas's plan, and
Yeah.
it's a good plan. I mean, has especially with his free agents, it hasn't. Well, for the most part, it hasn't worked out. It's failed more than it's worked out when you look at some of his free agents over the years. But you got to give him an A for effort. Like the guy is trying. He has found some diamonds in the rough with DJ Reed, even Tyler Conklin, and then we only know what this season's going to be. Uh, you had touched on the offensive line a little bit, and I want to stick with that a little bit. I figured we'll go offense and then we'll go defense, coaching a little bit here and there. With the offense, what is your thought on the revamped offensive line compared to what it's been the last couple of years? Do you think that this is the best offensive line that the Jets have had in, I don't know, maybe going back to 2009, 2010?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's got the potential to be. I really do wish this is a rub for me. All right. I wish that we wouldn't put so much stock in injury prone guys. That's the one
Right.
rub that I have, right? Tyron Smith, when you looked at this free agent class, left tackles, he was the cream of the crop. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There are guys that are maybe a little bit healthier, but nobody's Tyron Smith. So he was the guy I wanted, even with his warts. But that was also why I wanted an offensive lineman in the first round. I was 100% on offensive line the entire offseason. Not to say I wouldn't have been excited about a Romo Dunze or somebody like that coming in. I would
Same
have.
here. Yep.
I would have, and I didn't hate that pick. But for me, I think this offensive line has the potential to be truly like dominant. I really do. I love Tippmann. I like the idea of AVT just being at the spot. Just stick him in there. I appreciate his flexibility, his versatility. I really, and he's so good all over the place. But it's time to just put him at a spot and let's try and see if that can help mitigate this injury thing going on with him.
Yeah.
Um, so I think Morgan Moses, I like some of the young guys. I like Carter Warren. I still like Max Mitchell. Last year was rough for him, but I do like his potential. But drafting Fashanu or Fashanu or whatever the hell,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it how I say it there, buddy.
Same here. Yup.
You know, so I think that was a slam dunk move. And even if he doesn't play this year, that is best case scenario. If he
Yep.
doesn't play either by injury or because the offensive line is so good, we don't need a first round, a top 11, I guess, pick in the lineup. That is a good thing. And then we can figure it out next year if he's going to slide over to the right side from Moses or replace Tyron Smith, whatever it might be. I'm happy about that. I think that the offensive line in 2015 was pretty good. Mangold was still here, and some other guys. They were pretty good, but since Joe Douglas has been here, for all of his efforts on the offensive line, the injury thing has killed him. And last year with Dwayne Brown and Mekhi Becton, two injured guys, depending. I mean, it was a recipe for disaster. I think
Yep.
he did a much better job this year, especially using Fashanu to back up, kind of both tackle spots. And we still have Carter Warren second year and Max Mitchell third year. I feel pretty good, man. I think there's a lot of potential here to have an offensive line that's going to kick the shit out of people, open some holes for Breece Hall, and give Aaron Rodgers time to slice and dice. And that's all we really need. We need 2.5 seconds, man. And I think that this line can do it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And then the thing is, like, everybody's already counting out Tyron Smith, like, oh, he's not going to play at some point in the season. It's like we don't necessarily know that. I mean, if history tends to repeat itself, if that is the case, then yeah, he will not be playing a full season. But yeah, I like this offensive line. Then the thing with last year, it was always like, what if? I mean, if Dwayne Brown could stay healthy, if Billy Turner isn't terrible, if Mekhi Becton can finish the season, if Elijah Vera Tucker doesn't get injured, it was if. Now I feel so good about where we are with this offensive line right now, where yeah, it is pretty much solidified. And then you're talking about we have one of the greatest offensive linemen in the last quarter century, if not longer, on our team right now. Yeah, he has an injury problem, but Tyron Smith is one of the greatest to ever play the position. And then we have a legit first round pick as depth. Like what you said, like it's great. Like there's no position deeper right now, in my opinion, than the offensive line, and that's what we had to do. It had to come to this point, and I want more. Like I want David Bakhtiari or somebody like that. Like, are you in on, or like what are your thoughts on bringing possibly more in? Do you think that's
Ma-
overkill or
Nope. I think if you had to lose, like, let's say they go through a few weeks of training camp and they just don't see Mitchell developing. They just don't
right?
see it. And you want to try to stick him on the practice squad, and you can bring in a David Bakhtiari. I say do it. I
Yeah,
just overkill. There's no such thing with our offensive line. Jets fans that don't see it that way don't compute to me. I mean, it's like, what have we been watching the last few years? Our offensive line has been decimated. If we would have had even competent quarterback play and the offensive line, we're in the playoffs the last 2 years. I am a firm believer in that. And the idea that we're going to have too many offensive linemen, it just doesn't compute. I think we should bring in. I think Wes Schweitzer can be replaced. I know he's owed some money. Who cares? If there are opportunities to upgrade, I say we do it. If David Bakhtiari is on the list, stick him in there. I don't give a shit. Lose Max
yep,
Mitchell. If you can get an interior guy, a Connor McGovern back, just have him back up center and the guards. I'd be delighted with that as well. He's still out there.
yep.
So, yeah, I don't think overkill is a word I would use for the offensive line. I don't give a shit if they had 5 first round picks backed up by 5 first round picks. I just don't care. I think that's good enough for me.
Yes, no, I agree 100%. You're absolutely right. So then looking at the rest of this free agent class, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, like on paper every year, I think that we always hype it up. Uh, and like we had said at the beginning of the show, like with Joe Douglas, more of his free agents have failed than panned out. But in my opinion, this is looking like a slam dunk not only offensive line class, but just free agent class in total in general. Are you feeling the same way about that?
I am, but again, I'm cautious, right? I'm cautious. Morgan Moses coming off surgery. Now he's the kind of guy, he played through an injury all last year, so I feel good about him. But still, it's there. AVT, his injury, right? We lost him the last 2 years.
Yep.
Tyron Smith, as you mentioned, if history would teach us anything, he's not going to play every game this season. So, I like all those guys. And I think for what was out there this year for the offensive line, he did about as good as we could have hoped. Simpson, I think, is an underrated signing. Admittedly, he wasn't really on my radar in the free agent period, but I do like him. And he's kind of on the ascend, which is nice. You got some older fellas and you have a youngish guy that's on the upswing. Had a good year last year and can improve. Titman, I love. So I think, Mike Williams spooks me a little bit. I like the defensive line guys. Kinlaw was my number one defensive tackle target. I said it months and months before everybody was even talking about it. Not that I'm great or anything, but I'm just saying my interest in him went back to early in the offseason. I loved that they went and grabbed him. Leaky Fotu is a guy that I didn't know much about, but I like him in the rotation. We lost Quentin Jefferson. We lost now JFM, but we also lost Al Woods.
Yep.
So we needed to replace those guys. And I think we did a good job in doing it. I think that this free agent class is exactly what we needed. It was very targeted.
Yep.
And that's what I wanted to see. We needed defensive line help. We got him in, for rotational types of guys. Although Kinlaw, if he's healthy, man, that guy was a first round pick for a reason, and he's elusive and he's slippery, and him and Quinnen next to each other can be terror on quarterback. So I'm really excited about that. But again, it really goes to the offense, like you were talking about. The offensive line being number one. Tyrod Taylor can't be underappreciated. The backup quarterback was an issue last year, obviously.
Yep.
And I think adding Taylor, Adding the offensive lineman, adding Mike Williams, key, and I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, so sticking with the offense here, I just want to talk about the running backs for a little bit. What are your thoughts on the Jets drafting 2 running backs in this draft? Do you think that they're gonna keep all of these running backs on the on the roster? Do you think that there's an odd man out, possibly Izzy? I've been hearing that Izzy's been the odd man out lately. If that is the case, if they do, decide to go with an odd man out, just what are your thoughts on, like, the running backs? Do you think that they're gonna be bringing in a veteran like they've done with Dalvin Cook or, stuff like that?
Well, I don't think. Well, let me say this: I was surprised to see them draft a second running back. I was.
Yeah,
I wasn't surprised to see them draft one. Joe Douglas has done it every single draft, right in that pocket,
right.
that
Yep.
that that fourth, fifth round kind of thing. So I was really happy. Braylon Allen was the number one guy that I wanted. But interestingly, if Braylon Allen was gone, I had two more backs. I had my top three backs for the Jets. It was Braylon Allen, Audric Estime, and Isaiah Davis. So the fact that we got two of my top three backs, I'm really happy about it. So the odd man out thing, I don't know, carrying four backs isn't unheard of. I mean, we did it last year.
Yep.
We had Brees. Well, and look, the odd man out could very well be Bawden, who I don't love that he takes up a roster spot. We don't need a fullback. You have the Ruckerts of the world. You have your Boa, you have Conklin. If you need to do that, but Braylon Allen can do everything that Bawden does and then some, in my opinion. And he's 235 pounds. He's 6'2", I think he is. Dude, we don't need the fullback. So I would say losing Bawden and keeping the other four backs is the order of the day. That's what I'm hoping to see happen. Again, I think it's redundant to have a fullback whose impact is limited when you got Braylon Allen. Isaiah Davis told Dom C down at the Senior Bowl that his favorite thing to do on the football field is to see a blitzing linebacker and decleat him. I mean, is there a better thing for a running back? Can you imagine a better statement to hear from a running back who ends up being on your team? My favorite, not scoring touchdowns, not catching a pass, not running long, 100-yard. No, my favorite thing is a linebacker licking his chops, heading for my quarterback and decleating him. That to me is my kind of guy. So I think those are the guys you want on the field. We want that attitude. And it looks to me like Joe Douglas tried to do that, like to add that edge with guys like Simpson, guys like Malachi Corley, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. They're all cut from the same cloth. That violence, that aggressive, knock your face off kind of thing. Switching to the power run scheme that we're going to from our wide zone, I think is the smartest thing we could do. Simplify it and start playing some smash mouth. And we got the guys to do it. So I was surprised by it, but I don't hate it. And I don't think there will be an odd man out necessarily. I think Bawden's going to lose his roster spot. And I think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely, and if you remember, it's kind of funny that the majority of Jet fans are saying the same thing. And then it's funny because when Aaron Rodgers came off of IR, like when he got elevated to, I think it was the practice squad last year, like when he was able to practice, and they had to get rid of Nick Baldwin. Everybody, like all the Jet fans on Twitter, were like up in some type of uproar, and now everyone's like, oh yeah, just get rid of him. So it's kind of funny how just a couple
Oh yeah.
months, everyone's just that's Jets Twitter for you though. It's
We're a
crazy
fickle
world.
bunch. We
Yes.
are a funny group, aren't we?
Yeah, we just kind of blow with the wind. The wind's going this way. Okay, we'll say this. And I love it. It's not a knock on us because I'm the same way. I really am.
Right.
But
Well, that's the thing. Like when we talk about Jets fans, I'm certainly not talking about someone else. It's about
yeah, yeah,
me.
right, right,
You know
right.
what I mean? Fuck,
Yep,
I've been here 42 years, Liam. I know, it's like I am every bit a Jets fan. And it's funny, like
yep.
even in my family and stuff, like my family is largely Giants fans, even though my Aunt Gina, who made me a Jets fan, she's been working on the next generation for years. We have like 10 new Jets fans coming of age because of her. But the
Awesome.
rest of them, they're pretty much Giants fans. I got a Raiders fan, I got a Chargers fan. But every time I would go to like a family gathering and just the way that I was, they would say, he's obviously a Jets fan. You know what I mean? Just the way that I am. I'm built different. I'm a little different than the Giants fans when we're talking about football. And I embrace it. I know who I am, man. And when I make fun of Jets Twitter or I bust balls, it's because I've been here a long time. This is my family. And I'm every bit as ridiculous as every other Jets fan walking the planet, man. Trust me when I tell you that.
Yeah, no, you and me both, man. You and me both. I was born into it too, so it's like, I'm surrounded by these nut jobs just as much as you are. So, it's
Yeah.
crazy. But a couple minutes ago, you had touched on the backup quarterback position with Tyrod Taylor saying that he cannot be underappreciated. Do you think that the Jets would happen to sign another quarterback, to truly redshirt Jordan Travis? Maybe you bring back Simeon, or a lot of people don't even realize that Brett Rippin was a quarterback for the Jets last year. He never saw the field, but
Nope.
he was in that little rotation with Tim Boyle and this guy and Zach Wilson and everybody else. So do you see a situation to really truly do what they should have done with Zach Wilson, not play him, give him a red t-shirt, let him sit on the bench with a clipboard or wherever he wants to sit? No chance in hell that this kid plays is what I want to see. And that's
Yeah.
not a knock on him. So do you see that maybe they bring in one more, carry four quarterbacks, or
I don't know. I'll tell you what, Brett Rippon, it's a funny thing. He was also signed immediately this offseason. So he was picked up right away. A lot of people don't even know that. He's just not on the radar, but he was a Jet
yeah,
at the end of last season, and who I wanted to see play, by the way.
I did too.
Um, I was like, dude, throw Rippon in, man.
Yeah.
Anybody, he was not a great quarterback, but again, we weren't looking for great quarterback play last year. Even Simeon came in and he wasn't great, but you could see the difference. It was like, oh man, if we had him all year, maybe we squeak out the Falcons game. Maybe we beat the Raiders. It just, it's one of those things. But I don't know if they will bring in another quarterback. I think, the 35 million to Aaron Rodgers, and I don't off the top of my head, I can't remember what it might be like 8 or 10 million over 2 years or something like that. I just don't know how much they're going to invest in the position, especially using a draft pick as well. They're going to bet on it, man. Would I be against it? No. If you bring back a Trevor Simeon, just keep him on the roster, man. Why not? And if anything happens, you have him around, and like you said, we can truly redshirt Jordan Travis. I'm not against that. Whether or not they do it, realistically, I don't think that's something that we're going to see happen. I mean, the Jets, they do seem like a to their fault, to their credit on one hand, but to their fault, I think Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are kind of they're like loyal, and they bet on people. And we've seen that over the years. They're kind of willing to ride it out with somebody that they believe in. Now we brought in Tyrod Taylor. We used a draft pick. They got rid of Zach Wilson. I would probably lean, if I had to bet, I would say that this is our quarterback room, other than a camp body, just for, an undrafted free agent. I know we cut the Pee Wee Herman guy,
Yeah.
which I wanted to see. I wanted to see what he had,
I
but
did too. I wanted a quarterback named Pee Wee.
right, who doesn't?
Right.
Especially a guy who's 6'3", named Pee Wee. You know what I mean? That's he's a pretty big fella. But so I could see something like that. Like, you need camp arms, but other than that, I would be a little bit surprised if they decided to bring in another quarterback to keep on the roster all year.
Yeah, no, I did too. I would be too. And then another position I want to touch on. What are your thoughts on like the wide receiver room right now? Do you think that they keep all of the wide receivers that they currently have on the team right now? I'm talking about Jason Brownlee, who has actually gotten a lot of attention the last couple of days. He seems to be a big hot topic right now. Xavier Gibson. I think Irv Charles is still around. Or do you think that they would add like another veteran weapon, somebody like a Hunter Renfro? And then
Well,
there's another.
did you see Justin Jefferson was
Uh,
spotted in Florham Park today?
yeah, there was a couple comments.
Can you
Yes, from
imagine?
Stevie and friends. Yes, I know, I know. I'm like, oh, it's like I wanna play around with it. I wanna play around. I want to get excited about this, and it's weird because what the hell else is there to do in Florham Park? I mean, maybe you wanted a Taylor egg and cheese like ham. I don't know, but I don't know
Well,
what he'd
there's
possibly be
lots of
doing.
There's lots of business opportunities. Don't forget Morristown is there. Morristown Airport is there. So if he's kind of, looking to kind of fly in and be in the area, I don't know. Look, I hear you. Florham Park itself, there is the roller rink, everybody.
Yep.
Maybe he wanted to go roller skating at the Florham Park roller rink. But there it's close to a lot of other things. And there is the Morristown Airport. So, and who knows? Maybe he's dating a girl or some shit like that. Who knows? But it is exciting to ponder, and we got nothing else to ponder except this damn schedule. And we'll see tomorrow what happens with the open to the press OTAs.
Yep.
So we'll see what's going on. We have something to talk about, but the wide receivers, what's been told to me by some people that are in the know is that the Jets love Brownlee. Now, another thing that isn't really, I don't hear it talked about much. But the Jets in last year's draft, Jason Brownlee was an undrafted free agent. But the last couple picks that the Jets had in that draft, Jason Brownlee was in the conversation. So they didn't choose him; they chose another position, whether it was Carter Warren or Zaire Barnes or whoever it might have been, Izzy. They made the choice to pick another player, but he was in the conversation the last few picks. So that shows you that they liked him. They were surprised in the same way that they got Taylor, the undrafted free agent this year, the defensive tackle. I feel like I might be messing up his name, but Taylor.
Malik Taylor.
Leonard Taylor, right?
Oh,
The
Leonard. Okay.
defensive tackle.
Oh, yes.
So they liked him, So the fact that you got him as an undrafted free agent, that's just where it is. But they liked the player. They wanted to bring him on. He's going into year 2. He kind of got that rookie year out of the way. He saw some NFL action, not a whole bunch, but he saw some. I think he had 5 catches for 56 yards or so.
Yep.
So, did I get it right?
Yeah, that, and I think he also had a touchdown as well, too.
Did he? Brownlee?
Yes,
Oh,
I can't remember what game it was. It might have been somebody in the chat's got to know. I know for a fact he did. I don't remember what game it was, though. Somebody in the chat, I'm sure, will tell us.
Yeah, tell us. I
Tell
don't
us.
remember that. But then again, I didn't remember that the Jets re-signed Braylon Edwards. So I don't, hey, stuff goes in and stuff goes out, guys. But yeah, so I mean, look, here's the thing. So we know G-Dubs is wide receiver 1. Mike Williams getting $10 million there. If he's healthy, he's on the field. He's wide receiver 2. And the truth is that if he is healthy on the field, Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams are the best 1-2 wide receiver tandem we've had since Decker and Marshall. There's no question about it.
100%.
You add Malachi, right? So you add Malachi Corley, who in the beginning they're going to have minute competition for the slot, but that's his unless something happens. He's going to take that slot position away from Gibson. So those are our top 3. Alan Lazard is on the team, everybody, unless somebody wants to give us a draft pick, something happens. But Aaron Rodgers loves him. He had a bad year last year, but the truth is we have 5 years with him with Aaron Rodgers, and it was a significantly different product than it was with Garrett Wilson. I'm sorry, with Zach Wilson.
Yep.
So I have hope for wide receiver 4. He's a thunderous run blocker. We know he can catch the ball with Aaron Rodgers. So those are our top 4. So that leaves us with Brownlee, Gibson, and Irv Charles. Irv Charles, in my opinion, is entrenched because he's arguably the top special teams gunner that we have right now. He did a very, very good job last year. We lost Hardy, so Irv Charles has that leg in. He's got that special teams spot. So that leaves us with really one spot. That's 5. What are we going to carry 7 wide receivers? I don't know if we're going to do that, especially considering they're more than likely going to carry 10 offensive linemen. If they carry the 4 running backs, you know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do with the tight ends? Are you not going to have Yeboah on the active 53? I mean, you know what I mean? Or on the active roster for game day? I don't know.
We're getting there. Yep.
You know what I mean? So a lot of fans like to just say, we're keeping these guys, but there's a finite amount of spots. So I think that there's probably one spot between Brownlee and Gibson. Now, Gibson offers something that Brownlee doesn't. He's that shifty guy, but I think they like Brownlee more. That's what I heard. They like Gibson too, and they're going to give these guys every opportunity to kind of fight for their spots. But if I had to guess, I think Brownlee's got the last spot. Irv Charles, we're devoid of that little tiny shifty guy, but Gibson had those fumbles and all that kind of
Yeah.
shit. So I don't know, man. I think Brownlee would be the final guy unless they feel they really want that other option, that shifty small guy. And Gibson's talented too, but um, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see the top four are locked, and
Right.
I believe Irv Charles is locked. So that's five. So I don't know. I mean, if you get Justin Jefferson, you can kick anybody off the damn roster. Doesn't matter. Anybody not named Garrett Wilson and Malachi Corley, in my opinion, can fucking pound rocks, man. If Jordan Jefferson wants to come around,
Yeah, no, I'm the same way,
or
absolutely.
Justin Jefferson, I mean, yeah.
Do you see any situation that Corey Davis comes back? I mean, like everything indicates that he doesn't want to come back to the Jets, but he did say that he wants to play football again. I think he was trying to go back to Tennessee. But if they're not making any offers and he wants to play and he's just hanging around, I mean, I don't understand why he wouldn't want to play with Aaron Rodgers. Uh, that would give me a little bit more stability because I like Alan Lazard with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, I mean, we all know that the down year that he had last year, and Aaron Rodgers, they say high tide rises all ships. So there is a situation where maybe it just was a bad year with a bad quarterback. We could all forget about it, but I don't know. I would kind of like to see him back in a way. I mean, like you said, Justin Jefferson trumps all of that. You get me Justin Jefferson and Garrett Wilson, and that's all we have. I'm cool with it. Him and
Right.
like Malachi
That's all
Corley,
you
like, all right,
need,
cool.
dude. That's
Yep,
all you need.
So I don't know, man. I would like to see like one more veteran just there. I mean, if we could get him like really cheap, Corey Davis, we could probably get cheap. Hunter Renfro, I'm sure we could get pretty cheap. He's coming off of like an okay year, 2021. He had that 1,000-yard season, so there's always that. Uh, Now you jumped the gun a little bit. I knew that you were going to talk about your boy Kenny Yeboah. I know how much you love Kenny Yeboah, so I want to get into the tight ends a little bit here. With the tight end position, do you see a situation where Tyler Conklin and Jeremy Ruckert have a breakout season under Aaron Rodgers? Because especially with Tyler Conklin, he has gotten better and better the last 2 years that he's been here. If you look at his numbers, they're not terrible. I mean, I remember back in 2021, they were calling him stone hands and stuff, Zach's rookie year. And I feel like he wasn't that bad, like, honestly. I mean, like, he wasn't great, but I think it's solid. Like, we don't need a top 10 player at each position as great as it would be, which is why I was never really on the Bowers train to begin with. Like, I was
Yeah.
one of the guys, like, if we get him, cool, but I was the same boat as you. Like, if we could get an offensive lineman, that's definitely the way to go. But, yeah, do you see like, I really think that Jeremy Ruckert's gonna have a breakout season. I just wanna say that here. I played against him in high school, so it's like I've been following him very closely for a long time, and, like, he was that offense in high school. Like, the offense ran through him. So I could see a situation where, I don't know if they're gonna use him as more of just like a blocking tight end, or if they're gonna give him an opportunity to go run some routes and catch some balls and make some plays.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna do that. I don't know. Like I want to see him catching some passes, but I have a feeling that they're gonna use him like more as like the blocking and like we had said earlier, with that fullback position as well. Um, so do you think that he's gonna be like given those opportunities, and do you think that Aaron Rodgers, if he could stay healthy all season, he's gonna be able to elevate the tight end room?
Well, I'll tell you what. I think Jeremy Ruckert's hands are criminally underrated.
Yeah. Yep.
I think, I mean, it's like the guy makes impressive catch after impressive catch, and even though he only had a few opportunities last year, he still in when he was asked to do it, he did exactly what he did at Ohio State when they asked him to do it. And it's just an interesting thing. It's like he continually shows that he's got great hands, but everybody just thinks he's a blocking tight end, and I don't know what that is. Now, is there room for both Conklin and Rucker to have what you would call breakout seasons in addition to all the wide receivers? We want to have breakout season and then the running backs and all that stuff. I don't know. I think that Jeremy Ruckert's going to play a very, very valuable role. And I think if Jeremy Ruckert came away with like 30, 35 catches, it would be really, really beneficial. And I think that's kind of what I'm looking for. I think he could do much better than that. I'm a huge Jeremy Ruckert
Yep.
supporter, and
Same
I
here.
liked him. It's funny. His father busts my balls because I openly wanted a linebacker on that pick. It's funny when I met him at camp, he said, "So Bean, do you still want a linebacker?" And I said, "Yeah. I know, man. You know what? It doesn't mean I didn't love Jeremy Ruckert. I mean, he was one of my favorite tight ends in that class. I was just surprised that after signing Uzoma and Conklin in free agency and already having Yeboah, that they would use a third round pick on a tight end. It just surprised me. But that didn't mean I don't love him. So I think he's got the potential. Conklin is another one who's underrated. His numbers were strong.
Yeah.
He gets that drop moniker because of the Vikings game. We remember when we
Yes.
went back to Minnesota, Mike White was the quarterback that game. We thought Conklin was going to explode, and they gave him every opportunity to do it. He had like 4 or 5 dropped passes
Yep.
in that game. In that game. So whatever it was, the bright lights, the pressure of kind of wanting to make his old team pay, or it got to him, and he didn't look good. And he had some other drops and stuff his first year with us, like you talked about. But I think Conklin is another one that's underrated. He had 600 plus yards or whatever it was last year with terrible, terrible quarterback play. And he's a guy that he blocks well. He's got very, very good hands, and he's known for dragging people down the sidelines, down the field. There are numerous plays where it's the third tackler that gets him. And that's what I like. That's why I like tight ends so much. I like guys that can block and catch. And when the ball's in their hand, they look at a 5'10", 190-pound defensive back as breakfast. Like, that's what I like. You're like, get that. You're not, get out of my way, little boy. Like, that's why I like tight ends. And Conklin has that. So I think that this particular group of tight ends with Ruckert and Conklin being up top, I'm really hoping that they use them in the way that they can be used. And if they do, I think we'll see like a good 800 plus yard season from Conklin and maybe a 300 to 400 yard season from Ruckert. Dude, I'm fine with that.
Sign me up for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And I think it's very realistic. I don't think I'm being a fanboy saying that.
Right.
And then look, not for nothing. Think about this. You get Alan Lazard, Conklin, Ruckert out there for a package. Dude, those guys, they're going to lump up defensive backs and linebackers like for Breece Hall or Braylon Allen. Like, imagine, and then you send him Braylon Allen as a fullback. You got Ruckert, Conklin, and Lazard out there on the field with our offensive line. Like, dude, we're going to smash people. Yeah. And Breece is going to feast, baby. It's exciting to think about.
You're giving me the fuzzy feeling, man.
This is the shit I dream about, man.
Yes,
so
yes.
My kind of football, baby. This is what I want to see. I want ball control. I don't like seeing their offense on the field. And when they are, I want our defense to be rested and fierce and ferocious and fast. And that's the way to do it. You do it with your tight ends. You do it with your running backs. And then you take your shots with your Garrett Wilsons of the world, your Mike Williams of the world. And dude, it's a fantastic recipe for success. Keep their offense off the field and our defense rested, and we'll see plenty of victories.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And then Aaron Rodgers recently spoke very highly of Kuntz. I mean, I could read it. It's not spelled that way. The way that it's spelled, it should not be pronounced Kuntz, but it's a family show, so we'll call him Kuntz. But do you see a situation where both Kuntz and Kenny Yeboah make the 53-man roster? Kuntz was very raw last year. I mean, like, he had a decent preseason in my opinion. I think he had a couple touchdowns. Kenny Yeboah, he's been a guy that's been on the team since 2021 at this point, and he's just never really seemed to find like his role within the offense. So do you see I know that you're very highly on him. Maybe you could give some insight that maybe I'm missing. I like them both. I don't understand why he just can't get. I mean, I get it. There's guys better than him ahead of him, but maybe some like special packages or something like that. Do you see a situation first though where both of these guys have a chance at making the 53, or are we looking at practice squad candidates?
Yeboah's making the roster.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that because I like Kenny Yeboah, but let's not forget he was an undrafted free agent too. So those types of guys, they're going to take time to develop into what they want them to develop into. I do believe that Kuntz, that they like him. He's got the athleticism, he's got prototypical size and all that stuff. The problem with him is his effort and his
Right.
hands. So he's got okay hands, but nothing you want to write home about. So there's a lot to work on there. Now, whatever he's doing, hopefully it's good. The thing with Yeboah is this: Yeboah is a converted wide receiver to tight end. He did that his last year at Baylor,
Yep.
then went to Ole Miss, had himself a really good season there before the draft. He came into the Jets and he carved out a special teams role. He's one of the favorite special teams guys of Boyer, which bodes well for the bottom end of the roster guys. If you can play specials and play them well, there are spots for those guys, especially when you start folding them into the offense, they can produce. Last year's Brees Hall resurgence at the end of the season. Remember, there was like that last 5-game stretch or so where Brees Hall just seemed to be unstoppable. A lot of that, if you go back and watch the tape, the lead blocker on a lot of those plays was Kenny Yeboah. He was the one
Right.
opening the holes, and that was kind of the hole in his game. His hands are not in question. Kenny Yeboah was a wide receiver. He's got fantastic hands. He doesn't have any. Granted, they don't throw him the ball very often, but he doesn't have any drops or anything like that. No real bad plays. The issue was he was kind of a middling blocker. It's like, so you had trouble putting him out there because he's not going to be your number one target, and he's not really he's hit or miss on the blocking. Last year, he solidified that. He came in and he was a road grader, dude. He was knocking the shit out of people.
Yeah.
So they re-signed him. Matter of fact, he was the first free agent, if I remember correctly. He was the first or second home team free agent that we re-signed. And that says something to me. That
Yeah.
speaks. It's like when Bryce Huff, when free agency opened, everybody's like, I don't know what Bryce Huff's value is going to be. He's a $10 million a year guy. He's a part-time player. What happened? He was fucking signed in 10 minutes
Yep.
by the Eagles. And that's what I was saying. Like his value, guys, it's not in question. You got to watch what you're really watching. And like a Yeboah guy, he's been consistently developing every single year. The blocking was the final piece. He showed that he can do that. He's valuable, especially as a tight end 3, man.
Yeah.
Now, I do think Kuntz, this is kind of, if he explodes in training camp, it's a different story. But I think he's going to need another year, and then next year Yeboah will probably move on to another team. And then Kuntz will probably take that. I could see that happening, similar to like Bryce Hall. Like Bryce
Yeah.
Hall, they liked him. He's a good player, but he wanted to be a starter. He deserved to be, to be given that shot to start, and they weren't going to give it to him.
No.
So they liked him. I mean, he was on the 53. They didn't expose him. They didn't cut him or anything. But they didn't re-sign him. So he went down there. He signed a contract with the Bucks. I think we're going to end up seeing something like that with Yeboah next year if Kuntz is ready.
Yeah. So switching to the defensive side of the ball, one of the biggest glaring holes currently on this team seems to be the safety position. Do you see the New York Jets signing a Justin Simmons or a Quandre Diggs or somebody like that? Or do you like that what we're rolling with? I mean, it could be a little bit of a concern with Chuck Clark coming off of an injury. I mean, he's always been the big Iron Man for the Baltimore Ravens, and of course, becomes a Jet and does the thing. So there's that, and then you have Tony Adams, you have Bernard Converse, a couple other guys. Do you think that they're going to roll with what they have, or do you see us making a move at the safety position?
Well, I wouldn't be disappointed if they did that, right? Um, Here's the thing, and going into the offseason, when we broke down, the roster, what our real needs are, what we're looking at here, where they should really spend money or draft capital and all that stuff. The only hole I would call it on defense is the safety position. Now, we
Yeah.
do have Chuck Clark, but he was injured all last year. We have no idea what he's going to be this year. We have we have hopes, and we know what he did for the Ravens, but he's never played a snap for us. So that's a hole. That's a question mark, in my opinion. Tony Adams, while he has shown flashes, has also done some things that I really didn't like last year. Now, he's young. He's an undrafted free agent. He's getting better. He's developing. They like him. That's fine. And then you got Ashton Davis back. From what I understand, they're going to give him an opportunity to compete for the starting job, which I think he's earned. You know,
He has
he's
earned.
earned
Yep.
it. But he's not a player that I'm like, you
Got to get
know,
Ashton Davis. Yeah.
yeah, like, oh, we're good. So then we have the young bucks. You got Jarek Bernard Converse, who we didn't see him at all last year, but he's a guy that they drafted to play safety. In the similar to that kind of how they developed Pinnock, let him go. He got scooped up by the Giants, and he's been their starting free safety for the past couple of years. They made a mistake exposing him, other than to say they did it to protect Tony Adams, who's now been our starter. So I don't know. You can go one way or the other on that one. But don't forget, we also drafted Jalen Key as well out
Mr.
of
Relevant.
Alabama. So they
Yep.
have a nice little batch of young guys. This is what I was talking about before with their propensity to kind of invest and kind of roll with their guys. I think it would be smart to bring in a safety Quandre. I think it would ease my mind a lot. A guy that can play NFL level football at a high level. I don't know if they have the money to do it. I don't know if they might look at their guys and go, dude, Converse, Adams, Davis, these guys are ready to compete. We feel really good about our young stable because somewhere on the defense, look, you got Quinnen Williams, first round pick, Jermaine Johnson, first round pick, Javon Kinlaw, first round pick, Hassan Reddick, first round pick, Mosley, first round pick,
Sauce.
the other Williams, Quincy, he's a third round pick. You got Sauce Gardner, first round pick. So like somewhere there has to be kind of the developed guy somewhere. And
Yeah.
Tony Adams is, probably going to be that guy. Tony Adams competing with Ashton Davis. And then you got Key and Converse. They're probably going to go that. I would love to see them do it, but I would, again, if I had to bet, I'd say, guys, we're looking at our safety room, unless barring injury, of course.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but I'm kind of in the same boat where I would like to see somebody that I know can play football, kind of like what you just said. But yeah, I think that we're kind of looking at what we have right now and saying this is our room. Another position I wanted to touch on. In your opinion, has the defensive line gotten worse with the losses of JFN, Al Woods, uh, Jefferson? Do you see them signing another defensive lineman, or in my opinion, I think they've gotten worse personally. I mean, it's
Why do you
hard to
think they
say.
got worse? Like, what's
Just
the key guy that makes you think they got worse?
well, I did like Jefferson last year. I
Yeah.
liked Al Woods too up until he got injured. That was really unfortunate. I like JFM too. I mean, JFM was not the perfect player last year. A lot of penalties. Some of it was his fault. Some of it not so much his fault. I think they kind of had a hard on for him at times. But I get it, the whole salary dump. I just feel like we got robbed with JFM. I mean, a sixth round pick in 20, like, come on, in 2026. I think he was worth like a fourth. I mean, I get it. I feel like Joe Douglas got fleeced. I don't know if it's just me and my green goggles, but
Uh-huh.
I do feel. I mean, it's gonna be interesting because, like you said, I like Fotu, or I want to like Fotu. I can't say that with you know uh, jurisdiction that I definitely like him, but I want to like him. Like you said, we got Kinlaw. I like Solomon Thomas too. I think that he's like one of those players that doesn't get maybe like the respect that he deserves. But in my opinion, like I don't know. I mean, maybe they upgraded and we just haven't seen it yet. So maybe I'm being a little bit biased, but like, what are your thoughts on the defensive line?
Well, I didn't want to I didn't want to see JFM go either. I like JFM, but if you said to me, we got to lose somebody on our defensive line, you got to pick one. JFM would have been the guy I picked. And people say, what
Yeah.
about Michael Clemens? Well, Michael Clemens, guys, played 20% less snaps than JFM last year and had comparable numbers. So they were like, I mean, he had a few more tackles, a few more, he had like 2.5 more sacks, whatever it was. But nothing crazy. You know what I mean? There were
Yeah.
very comparable numbers. Plus, Michael Clemens plays special teams and JFM does not. So there's that. Now, Michael Clemens, they had him put on the weight. They tried the interior experiment with him and all that shit. I don't think we're losing much between JFM and Michael Clemens. And here's the other thing. When you look at Al Woods, who I liked as well, the truth is Al Woods had 6 tackles last year. 6.
Yeah.
6. Now, that's not to say that he didn't stuff the hole and the tech. There's all that kind of stuff. And there are those stats that are kept. PFF might keep track of that. Like stops, they call it. So Al Woods was definitely valuable. Don't get me wrong. But you look at the production, we're talking about 6 tackles and a sack. That's what he brought us.
Yeah.
When conversely, now Leaky Fotu played 4 more games than him last year, but he had 28 tackles and 2.5 sacks. So you tell me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you tell me, like just looking at our feelings aside, you look at it. Now, Kinlaw is a question mark. Kinlaw, when compared to JFM, Al Woods, Jefferson, those guys, the pedigree that he brings to the team is a significant upgrade. What he can do. His problem was injuries. Now, with our rotation, it's probably going to bode well for him. You saw, remember Alexander, the linebacker that we had a few years ago?
Yeah, Quan Alexander.
Quan Alexander, right.
Yep.
He didn't play more than like 6 games a season or whatever the hell it was in like 5 or 6 years. And he comes to the Jets and he's rotated in and he has his first full season in like 5 years.
Yep.
So we see that stuff. The rotation that the Jets employ is good for these players. It's for keeping them healthy and everything. So a guy like Javon Kinlaw, Al Wood said it when he got here. He said, "This is the first defense that I've ever played in that I don't have to think as much. It's just balls to the wall." And I think a guy like Javon Kinlaw is going to, if he's healthy, is going to thrive in that environment, especially with a guy like Quinnen Williams next to him. Solomon Thomas had a really solid year for us last year. So I'm really excited about these guys. Again, I didn't want to lose JFM, and I'm right there with you. I think a 2026 sixth it might as well be, hey, can I borrow $5?
Right.
Now in 2026, we'll be happy that we have it and all that shit, but it was chump change, and it was just it was a salary dump. That's all that was.
Yep.
And they needed it. So we'll see what they do with it. They needed it to sign the rookies or what have you. But I don't think we got worse. Huff and Reddick is kind of the foe. I loved Bryce Huff, and I was very, very upset that they let him go for nothing. Signing Reddick kind of quells that a little bit for me. I mean, because technically speaking, it's an upgrade.
Yes.
But the youth is really what it is. We don't know how much longer, Hassan Reddick. I have an Eagles fan friend who said, dude, I'm telling you, Hassan Reddick's on the downslide. And lots of Philly fans feel that way with him. So a little bit, but I don't know. I think, again, in this defense with this rotation, Hassan Reddick is going to feast, and we're not going to miss Bryce Huff on that respect. So I'm not really particularly worried. I think that at worst, it's a push with the guys we lost. We're talking about Al Woods, Quentin Jefferson, who I liked, but we're not talking about losing Quinnen Williams here.
Right. The main thing that I really want to see, I mean, the thing is too, like, I really want to see Michael Clemens get some more production. I like Michael Clemens, and I really want to see him get his hands on Deion Dawkins, because I know that, yes, Deion Dawkins is deathly afraid of Michael Clemens, and I'm here for it. Like, I want to see just Michael Clemens unleash. Like, yeah, come into the stadium with that baseball bat like he does. Maybe we kind of go some like pro wrestling style where we could like wrap some barbed wire around it and set it on fire and have him like walk into the stadium. Like, I'm cool with it. Just like, let's just really have Deion Dawkins crap his pants. Like that's what I want to see. I don't need to see the graphic of it, but like hearing that he did it, I'd be cool with that. I really would be. So a couple more minutes. I told you I wouldn't go past an hour. I have a couple more questions for you. I hope that's okay.
Yeah.
Just overall, real quick, what are your thoughts on the schedule? I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, the NFL hates the Jets. We got 3 games in 10 days, which is a lot. And listening to your stream this morning, it hasn't been done, like you had said. So
yeah.
Just what are your overall thoughts on the schedule? Do you think it's a favorable schedule for the Jets? Or are you looking at this and you're like, yeah, this sucks?
Well, I think they've taken a favorable schedule and they've made it as hard as they possibly could for us. Now, so like you alluded to in my podcast that was released today, I talked about something that I don't see many people talking about, which is it's not that we just are making something up to complain about. This schedule has not happened since the 1970 merger. Okay, so not the Chiefs, not the Steelers, not the Ravens, not the Niners, not the Cowboys. None of these teams that are perpetually up top have had a schedule built like this. 6 primetime games, 7 standalone games in the first 11 weeks. Excuse me, in the first 11 weeks has never happened since the 1970 merger of the AFL and NFL. So when you're looking at this thing and you're feeling some sort of way, like this seems a little bit of a little extreme, it's because it is. And the Jets, the guy North, the top scheduling executive, said we felt that the Jets owed us one. Look, here's the thing. Maybe, just maybe, you should wait until the Jets actually do something before you give us a record-breaking schedule. And last year they did it to us. It wasn't quite this bad because we weren't going to London in the middle of all this shit. But you saw it. We were not a team ready for 6 primetime games. And it's like, it's on you. We don't owe you shit. You're the one that stuck a perpetually losing team 7-10 the year before as a good year for us. You're the one that stuck us in primetime 6 times. So look, we're going to have to do what we have to do. We're going to have to beat the teams, but 3 games in the first 10 days of the season is not easy. And it's not the only time that it happens. It happens in October. Again, we play 3 games in 11 days. Guys, that's supposed to be 3 games, in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we're playing 2 separate times. We start the season with 2 prime times. Okay. And
I can't help but laugh. I can't help but laugh.
It's crazy. Again, it's like, look, we're going to do what we had to do.
Yeah.
But it's worth talking about. Guy, I just will say it again. It's not that we're just complaining. This has never happened before. All right. So why are we the team that's got to deal with that shit? You know what I mean? Why not the Chiefs? Give it to them. Nope.
Almo's still confident. Elmo is still confident.
Yeah. And we're going to do it. And we're going to show the world. If Aaron Rodgers is on the field, guys, we're going to show the world, and we're going to beat a lot of these teams in front of the big lights, and we're going to show the world what it is that we're made of. We're going to show them this defense. We're going to show them Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, and all the other fans are going to go, holy shit. Like, this team is stacked, and they're mean, and we're going to do it that way. But again, they took a schedule that could have been considered favorable, and they made it as difficult as they possibly could. Playing the Patriots the way that we have to play them gives them every opportunity to, it just gives them every advantage that they could create for them, when it should be they've dominated us for 20 friggin' years. We just beat them for the first time in 15 years, and you give them a little bit of an advantage. Why? Why don't we give us a second? Let us go in there and beat the living shit out of them one time. Why can't we get that? Nope. The NFL feels we owe them something. I don't get it.
That comment, it really did piss me off. It's like we're driving like a hoopty. We're gonna go buy a new car. We get into a car accident on the way there. Don't buy the car, and then like, well, you still owe us the money for the car. It's just it's insane. Like, we don't. You're right. We don't owe them anything.
Fuck, we owe
our
them.
Quarterback got hurt. I don't see why doesn't the Cincinnati Bengals owe the NFL anything? Joe Burrow got hurt.
Yeah.
None of these great quarterbacks. It's just the Jets. And I guarantee you, like, if this injury had happened with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, the conversation would not be the same. It wouldn't be, well, the Packers owe us. No, it's just because we're the Jets, and we're the Jets. That's there's no better way. There's no other way to explain it. It's just the Jets.
Yeah.
But looking at the schedule real quick, is there any games that you're looking at possibly going to?
Yeah, I mean, we're eyeballing the Denver game as our ticket buy, our big meetup with Tailgate Joe and Ryan and Matt and everybody. So that's our game. It's a 1:00 game. Hopefully that's the game that we can get for, it's not the season opener, but Thursday is very difficult for me to come up from Virginia. And a lot of people can't make that. So we're hoping that the Denver game, I would love to see Zach Wilson starting for the Denver Broncos. If any defense in the world is going to want to make a player pay, it is the Jets defense and that little fuck. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They've been carrying his ass for 2 years, man. 3 really, but 2 years. They've been nothing short of carrying this team.
Yep.
They owe him, and they were not, dude. They know how to beat him. They know his
Oh,
weaknesses.
yeah. Yeah, I really want him to get cracked, by like Quentin Williams. He just looks up and goes like, "Oh, so this
Oh
is how you
yeah,
guys have really been feeling." But
right.
so the last Jet question I'm going to ask you here, I don't know if you're willing to do it. Record prediction.
Yeah, I'm with
All
E
right.
Boogie, dude. I'm the kind of guy. I don't get into all this bullshit. I mean, anybody can do anything they want. But let me just say, I predict 20-0. That's what I predict.
There you
I
go.
predict undefeated. I predict going into, and I complained about it and all this stuff. But I think we're going to go into what I still call Candlestick Park because I'm an old ass man. And I can't get with these new Qualcomms and all this shit. It's Candlestick Park over there. And we're going to go in there on Monday night and we're going to beat the living snot out of them. And they're young, Mr. Irrelevant quarterback for all of his talent and all of his accomplishments. He's going to be running for his life from our sick ass defense. And Sauce Gardner is going to be plucking and we're gonna stomp a mud hole through Tennessee right into Thursday Night Football. Yes, they put us at a disadvantage. We are going to lump the Pats up like nobody's business, and it's going to go on from there. I think we're going to go on a nice win streak all the way to the Super Bowl. That's my prediction.
From your lips to God's ears. You know what's funny about that 49ers game is they have Leonard Floyd, the guy that hurt Aaron Rodgers, and we have Hassan Reddick, the guy that
Yeah,
hurt Brock Purdy. So it's like, yeah, what's gonna happen there? So.
crazy world, isn't it? Crazy
But
world, dude.
Green Bean, I definitely appreciate you spitting some green and white gospel for us. Love having you on, man. Love listening to all your content. Everybody knows you, but for whatever reason, if somebody doesn't, where can people find your content?
Yeah, right at GreenBean Jets fan on YouTube. That's where to find me. But also Talking Jets on YouTube. That's where Ryan, Matt, Tigo, Dom C, Jeremy, we all have our shows over there. And we'll be live tomorrow at Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on Talking Jets, man. Talking Jets panel is back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Well, Green Bean, I just wanted to thank you once again for coming on. Thank you for doing once again with the technical difficulties. So
Yeah, you're good,
appreciate it,
dude.
man. Appreciate it. And yeah, so gonna wrap it up here. I just wanted to thank everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. All that good jazz. You guys know what to do by now. Everybody says it. But just wanted to thank you guys all. Talk Jets soon.
Good night, everybody.